Sarada's blood spilled all over Boruto's hands and the sky turned pitch black forever. She died to save the hero and he turned into a monster. The purest love created a lethal anomaly. You won't believe what happened next. This insane destruction was just the beginning. Let's rewind to a few hours ago. The sun was shining and the weather felt perfect. Boruto and Sarada were planning their future together. The ninja world seemed calm and peaceful, but this peace was a bloody lie and tragedy was already waiting in the wings. It all started because Code invaded the village silently and he didn't want to fight Konoha's army. He wanted to break Boruto's mind, so he focused on the hero's only weakness. Sarada was training alone near the monument and she didn't notice the cruel ambush forming in the shadows. The attack was cowardly and Code's insane speed broke the sound barrier to guarantee her death in a single strike. Boruto felt the distortion in the chakra and he used teleportation with brutal force. He arrived at the exact millisecond Code's claws were about to pierce Sarada's heart. But the hero tripped over his own anxiety, and his movement failed at the most crucial moment of all. He was going to take the fatal blow because he blindly threw himself to protect the girl he loved. Everyone expected the hero to take the hit and save the day, but Sarada saw it coming like a genius. She activated her Sharingan and swapped places with him in an unnoticeable fraction of a second. Code's profane claws tore straight through the Uchiha's chest, and blood splattered right onto Boruto's face. She smiled one last time because she preferred death over watching the love of her life fall. Sarada's body collapsed into the hero's arms, and the weight of her lifeless body completely shattered his sanity. Boruto didn't scream and he didn't cry because the pain was so colossal it paralyzed all human emotion. That silence was more terrifying than 1,000 explosions, and Code backed away because he felt a chilling, primal fear. A thick, pitch-black aura began to ooze from Boruto's skin, and the karma reacted to the absolute grief. The traditional blue karma vanished and a liquid darkness swallowed half of the boy's body. This wild transformation didn't come from the Otsutsuki, but from the unbearable pain of a human heart torn in half. Boruto lost his heroic consciousness and became a true god of darkness at that exact moment. Konoha's sky cracked because the pressure of that dark chakra warped the very laws of physics in the ninja world. Code tried to run because he realized he had awakened an immortal, furious demon. But Boruto just lifted a single finger and gravity crushed the villain's bones against the dirt. There was no epic fight and no back-and-forth trading of blows because it was just a sickening, one-sided massacre. Sarada's killer was obliterated from existence and turned to dust before he could even scream for mercy. The power overflowing from Boruto's body terrified even the most experienced ninjas arriving at the scene. Shikamaru and Kawaki froze completely solid because they had never felt an energy so rotten and full of despair. The hero was no longer the smiling boy from Konoha, and he now radiated a ghostly, funereal presence. He completely ignored his allies because the only thing that mattered was the cold body lying on the ground. His revenge was complete, but the void in Boruto's chest kept bleeding non-stop. He looked at the girl's lifeless body, and his darkened mind made a very dangerous choice. He held that blood-stained body close and stared at the pitch-black horizon he had just created. The laws of life didn't matter anymore because he decided he would use a ruthless, forbidden technique to bring Sarada back no matter the cost. In the blink of an eye, Boruto vanished from Konoha carrying the body of the girl he loved. He turned his back on the village and abandoned his own father because grief consumed everything. The darkness of the karma formed wings of pure terror and he flew to the most remote corners of the ninja world. He needed to hide Sarada in a safe place, so he looked for the ruins of a long-abandoned ancient temple. The hero's escape caused absolute chaos inside Konoha's walls, and panic took over everyone. Shikamaru declared Boruto a global threat because the power he radiated was unstable and monstrous. Kawaki gathered an elite squad and swore to bring his brother back, even if he had to break his bones. But you know that nobody was prepared to face the level of brutality the hero had reached. Far away from there, Boruto plunged into the darkness and began hunting for any shred of ancient knowledge. He raided Orochimaru's secret labs and destroyed the defenses because he had no time for diplomacy. He was looking for a Profano reincarnation ritual and found records about manipulating the Juubi's chakra. The insane love he felt for Sarada blocked out his morality, and he agreed to pay the dark price. Boruto's body began to rot slowly because the energy of the God of Darkness was radioactive and destructive. But he ignored the tearing pain and used his own life force to keep Sarada's body perfectly preserved. He stroked her cold face and whispered promises that death wouldn't be the end of their romance. This unhealthy yet beautiful devotion kept his heart beating because the desire to see her smile was his only compass. He discovered he needed a massive core of natural energy, so he invaded a forbidden zone in the Land of Fire. This place guarded a rift connected to the remnants of the Juubi's chakra, and he began to extract that raw energy. The extraction was violent, and the surrounding nature died instantly because the corrupted karma sucked everything in like a black hole. But the hero didn't care about the destruction because the life of the whole world wasn't worth a single strand of Sarada's hair. The Konoha squad finally tracked the trail of death, and Kawaki landed in front of Boruto with hatred in his eyes. Mitsuki was also there and tried to appeal to reason because he didn't want to lose his son to the darkness. They formed a flawless military perimeter and ordered the hero to hand over the Uchiha's body immediately. But you understand that threatening the hero at that moment was the biggest mistake they could ever make. Boruto didn't say a single word and just released a microscopic fraction of that heavy, divine darkness. The pressure in the air crushed the lungs of the Konoha ninjas, and many fainted because fear paralyzed their hearts. Kawaki activated his own karma and charged with a deadly strike because he wanted to end this nightmare fast. But Boruto defended the attack with a single finger and snapped his adoptive brother's arm like a twig. Mitsuki activated Sage Mode with tears in his eyes and unleashed a concentrated light attack against his former friend. Boruto sighed deeply and just dissipated the snake's energy, with a look filled with pure despair and fury. He didn't want to kill the people he loved, but he would commit a massacre if anyone tried to stop Sarada's return. He used chains of dark chakra and imprisoned all his former allies on the cold stone floor. The hero turned to the makeshift altar and began molding the Juubi's chakra into a giant seal. He channeled all the love and anguish from his chest and mixed those emotions into the resurrection formula. The earth shook with terrifying intensity, and the sky turned to the color of pure, thick blood. You can imagine the tension ripping through the air because the boundary between life and death was about to snap. The glowing symbols wrapped around the girl's body, and her pale skin began to gain a slight warmth. Boruto smiled for the first time since the tragedy, because he felt her chakra pulsing weakly in the midst of the darkness. His monumental sacrifice was working, and the universe was bending to the will of an unyielding romance. But the joy lasted only a second, because the ritual demanded a tribute that was impossible to ignore. The altar flashed with an ungodly blinding light, and an invisible cosmic force suddenly froze the ritual. Boruto discovered that the pure energy of the Juubi wasn't enough, and he needed a living vessel to anchor her soul. He realized that the only possible bridge between life and death was the divine karma itself that lived inside his corrupted body. The Konoha ninjas finally broke their chains and surrounded the hero, completely armed for a lethal showdown that will define the fate of everything. Konoha's combined attack exploded against Boruto's barrier, and the impact shook the ancient stone structure. Kawaki advanced with his karma blade ready and aimed straight for the blonde hero's chest. Mitsuki unleashed thousands of chakra snakes to immobilize his friend's legs because they needed to stop this profane ritual. But the god of darkness didn't even flinch, and he willingly accepted the hits so he wouldn't take his eyes off Sarada. The hero's blood splattered onto the sanctuary floor, but he kept his hands extended over the sacred altar. Kawaki hesitated when he saw that Boruto wasn't fighting back, and he realized the utter madness of this extreme situation. The hero was smiling while shedding tears of blood and channeling his own karma directly into the girl's chest. He was emptying his own soul and injecting every single drop of his life energy to heal her fatal wound. The Konoha ninjas stopped their jutsu bombardment because the scene inside turned into a straight-up horror show. Boruto's dark energy was being drained violently, and his body began to wither like a dead plant. His skin turned gray, and his eyes started to lose that blue shine he had always carried with so much pride. The price for defying death was giving his own life in exchange, and he accepted that without a second thought. The dark chakra began to fuse with Sarada's dead cells, and the karma seal started to rewrite her destiny. The Uchiha's heartbeat echoed through the room like thunder, and the sound paralyzed every soldier in the area. The wound in her chest closed up completely, and a wave of human warmth began to radiate from her soft skin. Their romance was shattering the barriers of the impossible, and the miracle finally became real right before Konoha's eyes. Boruto fell to his knees on the cold stone floor and coughed up a terrifying amount of thick, dark blood. He felt absolute emptiness take over his being, and he knew his time in this world was running out fast. Even so, he didn't care about his own ruin, because he saw the girl's fingers move slowly across the marble. The hero crawled with the last bit of strength left in his broken body just to touch her hand one last time. Sarada opened her eyes slowly, and her Sharingan flashed with an intensity that nobody there had ever seen before. She looked around completely confused, and she didn't understand why she was in this dark, destroyed place. But the sight of Boruto collapsed, and nearly lifeless made her heart race in sudden, overwhelming despair. She threw herself off the altar and hugged the boy's body while screaming his name in tears. The elite squad backed away, and Kawaki lowered his weapons because the scene in front of him broke his cold heart. Their love had conquered death itself, but the cost of that victory was too painful for anyone to celebrate. Boruto could no longer speak, and he just used his trembling fingers to wipe the tears from Sarada's face. The silence that settled over the temple was suffocating, and everyone knew the hero was drawing his last breath. The god of darkness's chakra finished transferring completely and left the blonde's body for good. A mysterious black mark appeared on the palm of Sarada's hand, and she felt a sharp, burning pain rip through her arm. The power that almost destroyed the ninja world now lived inside the Uchiha heiress in a dormant state. Boruto closed his eyes with a peaceful smile on his face, and his heart stopped beating in her arms. Sarada hugged Boruto's corpse with superhuman strength, and her grief activated the energy she had just received. The dark karma in her hand reacted to the despair, and an explosion of purple chakra blasted all the ninjas against the walls. The temple floor split in half, and a deep chasm started to swallow everything around them. She would not accept living in a world where her savior and greatest love couldn't walk by her side. The energy built up in the girl's body began to behave in a completely bizarre and unpredictable way for the Sharingan. The dark karma wasn't just giving her power, it started to rewrite the very reality of the environment. The destroyed walls of the temple began to rewind in time, and Boruto's wounds started to glow with a golden light. A forbidden, unknown phenomenon was about to take place, and the ultimate ending of this story changed direction drastically. The golden light wrapped around Boruto's body, and reality began to bend before the power of pure love. The dark karma in Sarada's hand didn't seek destruction, but acted as a bridge of mutual sacrifice. The divine energy began to purify itself and divided the remaining life force equally between the two brave youngsters. The hero's wounds vanished, and his chest rose with a breath of air that brought life right back. The blinding glow faded and the two fell exhausted to the ground, but something insane had happened to their bodies. The karma in Sarada's hand completely vanished, and the black mark on Boruto's skin was also gone forever. All that monstrous darkness and the power of the god of darkness were burned away in the process of healing and resurrection. They no longer had divine powers and turned into just two ordinary ninjas without any cursed legacy. Kawaki and Mitsuki approached slowly, and they couldn't hide their relief at seeing their friends breathing in peace. Everyone's expectation was that Boruto would become an eternal monster or die in the deep darkness of the ritual. But the twist of fate showed that true love purified the curse and removed all Otsutsuki threats from them. The ninja world was no longer in danger, and divine punishment gave way to a real chance at happiness. A few years passed in Konoha, and the village completely rebuilt itself under the wise leadership of the old ninja council. Boruto and Sarada walked hand in hand through the quiet streets, and they no longer carried the burden of saving the planet. They trained hard as mere mortals and earned everyone's respect through the strength of their own daily sweat. The romance that was born in the midst of blood and tragedy finally found a safe home to truly blossom. Their wedding day stopped the entire village, and Naruto himself cried tears of joy, seeing his son fulfilled. Sarada wore a beautiful dress, and Boruto smiled with that same innocent glow he had in his distant childhood. They swore eternal loyalty in front of the Hokage monument, and sealed the promise with a passionate, calm kiss. The journey of pain was over, and the outcome of that romance was the most absolute peace Konoha had ever witnessed. They built a house near the forest and spent their afternoons talking about the old days of intense battles. There were no more looming threats, and no loose ends were left open because their destiny was completely sealed and secure. The ninja world moved forward without gods or demons, and the two lived happily into old age as ordinary humans. This was the story of the most unpredictable and perfect romance of all time. If you love this epic ending, then leave your like and subscribe so you don't miss any crazy stories. There's another amazing video waiting for you here on the channel, and you need to watch it right now to keep the hype going. Thanks for the support, and see you next time.